what would you recommend drivers to do? You said if you have to put food on the table, obviously you have to be the slave of the algorithm, do what you need to do. But in most cases, maybe people should just follow the system that says to them, at 60 cents a mile with IRS deduction of 62.5, I'm losing money. I mean, it's clearly math if you can't figure that out. And to me, a lot of cities, by the way, are at 60 or below on Uber's base rates, and it doesn't surge in their city, and they're not getting bonuses. So I see the comments on the side all the time saying that I'm not making money. You live in LA, you're lucky, you're this, you're that. What about the guy in Cleveland? What about the guy in Idaho, right? They're dying out there. I mean, it's become like a joke.
Yeah. Well, and Buffalo, Chris, you're in Buffalo. Is that where you are?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Now we're above. We have 60 for Uber. It's 67 cents a mile, and then Lyft is 71. But still, you're talking about cents.
But the reason I said it was irrelevant is my observation. I'm not at all as meticulous as you've been, Sergio, in documenting and analyzing your driving experience. But my sense is that if you take of your total gross compensation over hundreds of trips over the last several years, that the percent of your compensation that comes from one type of bonus, a surge bonus, a CRB, a Quest, or whatever the complex mix of available bonuses are, bonus-based compensation compared to your base compensation, I think has gotten much greater. So what drivers can earn now is much more dictated by the bonus availability than what the base rate is or isn't. That's what I think. But
100%, no, 100%. I mean, I did the article last week. 30 to 40% of a driver's income depends on bonuses.
Yeah.
So if the bonuses are gone, then they're dead. I mean, to me, it's like go do something else. But
to answer your question, yes, what do I think drivers should do?
Yeah.
And I made. Let me answer kind of the conclusion of the paper you referenced that I just wrote. What do I think Uber should do, and therefore what do I think drivers and riders should do? Yeah. What Uber should do is two things. One is, and it's one of the kind of strange things I try to convey to my students, they need to shrink to grow. It's going on one of these weird strategies that you're going to say, what are you talking about? Shrink to grow? That makes no sense. But if you take a company that is really, really big, I mean, huge, like General Motors or Lego in children's toys, when you take a company that is a massive market share leadership and Uber, and nonetheless, they're losing money consistently year after year. I mean, something really is screwed up with that company. And the best turnarounds and only cases where companies that get into that pickle can get things back on track is to say we got too much junk and weak aspects of our business. We've gotten too big and fat and lazy, and we just got to get rid of a lot of junk that's weighing us down. And you drive the business back down to the best pieces, the core, the foundation. It's like when you build a house, if the house had a really weak foundation, wouldn't want to keep adding floors on the top. Yeah. You want to shore up that foundation. And they started that to the point we made earlier in this call about the pandemic forced DK to get rid of a lot of junk. He's still got some junk in that portfolio of Uber Eats and Uber businesses, and they got to go. He's got to just get this company down to a manageable, profitable core, and then sort of figure out how to build from there. That's point one. Point two, how do you make money when you're losing money year after year after year? Well, in the simplest answer, it's you got to raise prices and cut costs. I mean, it's not that complicated. But Uber has the opportunity to not do that by brute force, because it is such a competitive market that you can't just say we're going to raise prices and we'll get all the benefit. But they could do it surgically by what I call price discrimination, which is to say they know so much about their passengers, which ones accept any price, whatever Uber throws out, I'm there. Yeah, bring it on. I'll pay. Doesn't matter. And then there are some who say no way, and they flip out and they find a cheaper way to go. And the same is true of drivers. They know which drivers will pick up the crumbs of base rates that they offer. And they know people like you who they got to show you the money. And why would they want to give away bonuses to people who are going to drive without it. So they can be very effective by putting in place more and more policies where they're, individual by individual, setting prices and setting pay rates. And they don't want to talk about this.
Do you really think that exists? I think it does. I think every driver,
once again,
we have a file. We have a file somewhere. And then we have our own algorithm. It goes, Sergio is going to decline all these rides anyway. Let's just send him this one. And then the other one goes, oh, this ant accepts everything. He's a diamond ant. So I'm just going to send him all the shit rides because he's going to accept it and no bonuses for that guy anyway. Do you really think that happens? I mean, are they really that deep into this algorithm stuff?
Is Uber?
Yeah.
You
think so?
They're absolutely that deep into, as I wrote in the paper, a very senior executive who was up to his eyeballs in the design and redesign of their algorithm said, truthfully, he said, for Uber, data is in their DNA. It's just part of who they are. They manage the company with, incredible analytic rigor. They're just figuring out, and they're constantly analyzing tens, hundreds of millions of records. I mean, they know better than anyone which of their passengers are more or less price sensitive. They have already acknowledged quietly, but it's on record that they do what they call route-based price discrimination. So if someone orders a ride from an affluent area to the airport in the morning, it's probably on a business trip, we can jack the prices up. If someone's coming off a graveyard shift in a factory part of town, going back to a low-income area, they need the ride, but we know they don't have a lot of money. So on that route, we'll keep the prices down. They acknowledge they're doing that, but that's just the starting point. They have enough information and analytical rigor to figure out individual by individual, not neighborhood by neighborhood, which folks could tolerate a little more of a price bump or not. As for the drivers, again, anecdotally, you talk about the number of cases where, the bonuses get throttled and you see different surges in someone else. I would be very surprised if they're not taking advantage of the opportunity to practice price discrimination on both sides of the marketplace, both for passengers. So given that, that's what Uber can do and should do. Then the question is, what should drivers do? Look, I don't begrudge Uber looking out for their own interests. They have an urgent need to show the street that they can start making some money. Yeah. They should do what they can do. But that means that, let's start with passengers. Passengers are lazy. Too many passengers are lazy. And there's some things out there that you can, on any given ride, it's the few times I use ride sharing services, I wouldn't think of taking a ride without using this app called OBI. You pop on Obi, you tell them where you want to go, and you just see the instantaneous, this is the price you're going to get on Lyft, on Uber, and several in New York City where there's several other ride services available, those as well. And you'd be surprised how often the price differences are quite large.
Oh, I know. I know that.
Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, it's just lazy not to do it. Every year I tell my students, I always ask my students, I set them up to show how they are not being honest with themselves or me. I say, how big do you think the price difference is, on any given trip? If you took the next 100 trips and you took the time to compare Uber and Lyft, how close together do you think the prices would be? Within, plus or minus 5%, 10%, 25, 50. And they always say, within 5 or 10%. And then they always say, yeah, we know that because we check. And then I show them the real data. You got to be kidding. You'd be shocked how often the prices are
100%. It's 100% plus.
So that's what actually, as for drivers, it takes a little more effort and a little more rigor. But the things you guys preach all the time on this podcast and other resources on the RideShare Guy and then some other apps like the Gridwise group.
Gridwise, yeah.
They're really has some useful tools for drivers to track what they're doing and analyze what they're doing and make some more informed decisions about when they should drive or not. It's a jungle out there. Everyone's got to look out for their own. That's all I can say.
All right. Thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself. Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.